We're getting a poor connection here today, it says, but welcome one, welcome all to this little discussion about memory palaces, mind palace, and discipline. And first of all, thanks to everyone who sent an email about the call on memory loss yesterday. That was a lot of fun with Jenny Gorman, and if you missed it, definitely want to check that out. If you're hopping on this call now, let me know where you are in the world, what you're doing, what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and I want to address this topic of memory discipline. But if you are hopping on this and you've never been on this channel, please click that subscribe button so that you can get notified of lives like this. I see a lot of people showing up. Hit that like button, and let me know where you are in the world. We're going to talk about discipline for your memory, and discipline with mind palaces, and discipline with memory palaces, and it really works best if you are talking to me while we're talking together. And the thing is if you are watching the replay, then you can always leave some discussion points down below. Now let me know if you can hear me all right. I really like sitting outside, but it's a bit of a windy day, and the traffic is a little bit loud, it seems. So I can always relocate inside. But on this matter of discipline, the question that a lot of people have, and I get this email all the time, is how am I going to show up to this, or how do I get motivated and inspired and so forth? And tomorrow morning I'm waking up early to talk to John Lee Dumas, who created the Freedom Journal. Alan says, hi Anthony, Alan in Melbourne, sounds like a good topic. It is the most important topic in the world for sure. Thank you for letting me know that you're here, and those of you who haven't said hello yet, please say hello and tell me what you struggle with when it comes to discipline with your memory, because I'm very interested in this topic, and I'm so excited to talk with John Lee Dumas, who created the Freedom Journal. And you know, a lot of people, and I've done a recent survey, thank you if you completed the survey on the Magnetic Memory Method app, and so much of that discussion of the app comes down to discipline. They really want something to keep them accountable. And the Freedom Journal is a great tool for that. So we're going to talk with John Lee Dumas, and it's going to be a great discussion. And you know, it's going to be a very, very short one because of the disciplinary measures that he himself has, and I'm really looking forward to that because I've never done a short form interview before. But you know, speaking of discipline, I just finished going through the corrections on my new book, and these are double-sided pages, so it's a pretty thick one. And it's just like anything with a memory palace or mind palace or writing a book or whatever. How do you do it? How do you not only write the book, but then actually read your own book and make all the corrections and all that stuff, so that you... Oh, Rohit's here. Great to see you, Rohit. But how do you do it? Like, how do you actually make yourself do it? It seems like it's this mind-boggling mystery for so many people, and I think we need to be solving it. Rohit says, hi Anthony, I'm struggling getting started. I got bogged down with creating 26 memory palaces for vocabulary. Thanks, in Santa Clara. Is that what it said? Santa Clara? California. Wow, Santa Clara, California. What's the weather like there right now? And what time is it? Well, you shouldn't be getting bogged down with memory palaces, that's for sure. Venugo Palan is here from Kolhapur, oh, in India. Yeah, I definitely want to get there. Rohit says, nice. It's 8:30 p.m. in Santa Clara, California. Well, wow, it is really windy here. But is everybody hearing everything okay? Let me know. I want to do a quick shout out to Cheryl Gordon. She sent me this book that she's written called A Rewording Life, and it's really, really cool. I appreciate when you guys send me your books and so forth. I'm going to be looking at this in greater detail, but it is all about helping generate some funds for charity for Alzheimer's and dementia, and really gets into some great stuff. So thank you, Cheryl, and I'll be looking into that very, very shortly. But yeah, tell me more, Rohit, about where you got bogged down, because really you don't need to get bogged down, you just need to keep going. And if you break things down into steps and stages, then 26 memory palaces okay, like maybe all in one day. Most people find that they can do that in 2 to 5 hours and actually start the process of using them. But if you needed to, why not break it down into steps? And that's something like what the Freedom Journal can really help you do. And if you want one of these beautiful things, go to magneticmemorymethod.com and /TFJ, the Freedom Journal. magneticmemorymethod.com /TFJ. And the purchase of a Freedom Journal helps support some charities, John's charity and mine, the Pollination Project, which is cool. And you know, when I interview John, we're going to do a big thing about how that this can be used as a memory device, because it's not just about using it for the discipline of showing up to your memory practice, but it's also about it itself helping you remember things. So that's pretty exciting, and I want you to be able to do that, because you know, when you're doing something like learning Chinese, and ooh, my memory journal fell out of the Chinese book, but you know, you've got to follow patterns, you've got to show up, and you've got to do it systematically, and you know, you got your memory palaces there, and there's a certain process that we go through when we're using the magnetic memory method. But if you don't do it consistently, nothing's going to happen. It's not going to get this effect of energy building up, moving forward, and getting you the results that you want, and you won't create this magnetic engine that drives you forward, so that it's actually creating energy for you instead of causing you to spend energy. And that's the problem that so many people have, is that they are doing activities that cost energy instead of creating energy. So Rohit says, for language learning, I'm finding that just memorizing words is not enough. It is their subtle usage that trips me up. Well, yeah, you start with memorizing words, but you go on to adding phrases to those words, and that will do this thing where when you see that magic happen, you're going to create energy instead of spending it, and you won't get bogged down, but you know, break it down. Michael says, Michael Swain, thank you for being here. Michael, great to see you as always. Good to be here again. Michael says, glad that you're here. Thank you very much for checking in. Bye-bye. Hello, we got the usual cast of characters. All right. Well, anybody, Rohit says, thanks, Anthony. My pleasure. Lots of fun having you here, and thanks for participating and engaging. If you're just hopping on now and you haven't said hello, let me know where you are in the world, what you're doing, what you're thinking, how you're feeling, and how are things with your discipline. Every day I get some kind of email about discipline, and well, like I said, one of the ways that you do it is you actually have something that helps you be disciplined. So the Freedom Journal is great for that. And why does it work? Well, it's because you're removing the burden of discipline from your mind and externalizing it outside of your body, right? And when you get it out of your head and then it's somewhere else other than your head, then you're able to actually manage it better and approach it differently, because it's not such a burden on your mind. And that's what journals are so powerful for, and that's why digital amnesia is such a problem right now. And it's also why that there's, you know, a really famous book, David Sachs, I believe, is the author, or somebody can check me out on that, and it's called The Revenge of Analog. And it's why things like this are coming back, is because apps are not the solution. They might notify you and so forth, but for so many people, apps are living in a jungle of other apps, and they're not, and the notifications are dismissible, but not in the same way that real things are dismissible. You can't dismiss this as well as you can a notification that comes up on your jungle app device, right? And so people are craving things like this, and it's absolutely amazing what's happening as a result. Checking in here with the comments, Michael Swain says, at Rohit, make sure you're getting lots of exposure from the language. As you see the word you just memorized over and over in native usage, you quickly get the hang of the subtle usages. Well, yeah, that's right. And thank you for that, Michael. That's a great contribution. It's exactly that. Like, you know, one of the cool things is when you're using a language and you're learning new stuff in the language constantly on a daily pattern. Rohit says, thanks, Michael, in case you don't see that. Alan says the audio is breaking up a fair bit because I'm outside. Please let me know if that's the case for you. On the replay, it might not be that way. Michael says no problem. But you notice patterns over time, and like for example, the times of day. Michael says I'm good on his end. Okay, I'm not sure what that is for you, Alan. Maybe because we're in the same country. I'm not sure. In any case, if you're learning Chinese and you learn the times of day, then you learn something about positioning. And then when you learn upstairs and downstairs in Chinese, then you're like, wait a second, there's a relationship here. There's some kind of thinking. There's logic here. Those are the subtleties that come. But you never get there if you don't show up and if you don't actually have an ordered pattern that you're following and, just keep on going and going and going and going. And it's exactly what Michael says, is that you're getting a lot of exposure from the language. That's why I always talk about the big five of language learning, right? So reading, writing, listening, speaking, and then memory. And then, of course, all those things serve memory, and then memory serves them. And it's a perfect circle. It's a perfect circle. But if you have discipline, and discipline is what? It's just showing up. And one of the tricks with discipline, showing up regularly, is to have it scheduled at a certain time, have it undeniable so that you are actually, not able to dismiss it, not a notification that you just dismiss and swipe away, but that it's physical and real in front of you. And then have it in line with something you actually want, and enjoy the process. Have it work so that it creates energy instead of spending energy. Rohit says, I speak with a native speaker once a week on italki, or italki, which is great. Can you double that? Is it possible for you to double that? Can you record conversations that you're having once a day and then send them to somebody, or just record and collect and then review your own conversations so that you're speaking more? Can you write to someone in the language that you're learning? Can you hear back what you're doing? And Rohit says, I feel that I have to memorize vocabulary to improve. Absolutely. If you heard the the episode of the Magnetic Memory Method podcast, where I was going on and on about this debate about memorizing vocabulary versus memorizing phrases, you've got to do both, right? So vocabulary is the path to memorizing more phrases, because you can memorize a bunch of words in a memory palace and then go back and add phrases. And you can memorize entire phrases, but for many people that just puts too much burden, too much upfront burden all at once, when actually what you want to do is, if that's you, then just go back to the core and add phrases later. But vocabulary is ultimately what phrases are made up of. And I think that you want to build your foundation from the ground up, not from the roof down. So Rohit says, I'm also listening to YouTube videos, children's shows. That's an interesting thing, right? Are children's shows the best thing to be listening to? Think about it. Do those programs involve communication that you'd actually want to have in the real world, as opposed to interviews with professionals in different areas of interest? So if you're watching a children's show and you're learning what amounts to vocabulary that is being taught to children at a level that is children's speaky, then are you doing yourself any favors? You're an adult, right? And you can go and learn more sophisticated or more useful and interesting vocabulary directed at a goal that might be higher than that. So Rahid chimes in, yes, because they have communication with the people around them, friends and family. Okay, fair enough. But it's something to consider. It's something to consider, because when we're talking about discipline and showing up, Dan is here from Omaha, Nebraska. Dan, great to see you, and thank you for letting me know that you're here. I would really, though, Rohit, think deeply about this, because there might be much higher level things that you can tackle, other than children's programming, because, I don't know, just something to think about. Shrunken Monkey Fist is here again. Thanks for letting me know that you're here and having, well, I hope you're having a lot of fun. Make sure you're hitting those thumbs up. Rohit says, thanks, Anthony. I will think about it. Definitely try to find different things, because, you know, learning Chinese, children's programming is the last thing that I want to watch. Baba Chunar, right, is the worst show for me to learn vocabulary, because it's just, they're not saying anything. Yes, they're communicating with their family and all this sort of stuff, but when I picked up stuff from there, and it's just like, it's not the communication that I need. Rather, interviews with musicians, interviews with comedians, interviews with actors, interviews with filmmakers. This is a much richer source, because these are the kinds of things that I talk about in a daily life that I actually want to be able to pick up phrases and vocabulary from, and then make note of and learn and so forth. So be in line with your interests. Be in line with the things that actually are making a difference in your life. And if that's children's shows, then fair enough. But really, realistically, for most people, why they have a hard time with language learning is because they think, oh, I'll go for children's stuff because that's the most useful, or that's the easy stuff. They give it to kids because it's easy. That's not necessarily true. And a lot of that stuff is vocabulary that's meant to capture the interests of children, that doesn't necessarily translate to adult language learning needs or your interest, right? So just a thought. And it's something that comes up again and again and again, is people say, oh, I'm using the magnetic memory method to memorize vocabulary from children's books. No, please, no. That's not the point of the tool. The tool is to memorize vocabulary that is at the level of communication and the area of communication that you need it most, regardless of its source. But its source can come from sophisticated areas. Anyway, that's important, and tracking, of course, is very, very important, and excited to talk to John. Does anybody know the Freedom Journal who is on this call? Has anybody used it? Has anybody gotten it? If you'd like to get one, please use the link magneticmemorymethod.com/TFJ. That's the acronym for the Freedom Journal. Helps us support some charities when you use that link. And Bad Boss starts to say here, there's a study on adult learning. Great. Looking forward to seeing the conclusion of that thought. Yeah, well, let's talk about what makes this so good. It's an amazing tool, because what it lets you do is break a goal down into 10-day sprints, right? And so you figure out the thing that you want to do. If you have the ultimate memory improvement secret, that'll help you figure out the thing that you want to do. But if you break it down into 10-day sprints, then you've got 10-day sprints, and this helps you track your daily progress. It helps you align what you're doing, your mind goal, with your actual needs, what you really need, right? So, you know, in the movies, there's usually a hero. And the hero is driven by some kind of ambition. They want something real bad. And the problem is that the thing that they want is usually not what they need. So they are conflicted by an unconscious need. And that unconscious need needs to be fulfilled, or else they're never going to reach self-actualization. They're never going to defeat the enemy. They're never going to win the battle. They're just going to be constantly burdened by the lie of the surface desire that they have, this conscious desire. But if they can get in line with their unconscious need, then they'll have the self-revelation that enables them to meet and defeat the bad guy in the way that will close the story, that will lead to the proper resolution, and finally instate them as the hero. And you can understand your own life that way. And something like the Freedom Journal, especially if you're using it in combination with magnetic memory method, will help make sure that you are not getting your conscious desire confused with your unconscious need. And then you can use this to break it up into 10-day sprints that will allow you to show up and be disciplined be disciplined and track the results and not have it relegated to some kind of app. Although you can get a PDF version of this as well. I really think you need to combat digital amnesia in your life and make sure that you get true freedom by having a freedom journal. You'll understand in just a few days or less of why it's so magical. Because your brain has chemicals, and these chemicals change relative to what they're interacting with. It's really, really interesting, and you've got to feel the effect in order for that to happen. Bruce Wayne hopping on the call. Thanks for being here, Bruce Wayne. Is using the place you work a good memory palace? And Michael Swain already answers absolutely yes. I've used places I've worked as memory palaces. It works fantastic. If you've taken the free video course on magneticmemorymethod.com, then you'll know about how to make that place you work an incredible memory palace. Not just a good memory palace, but a magnetic memory palace that works and works and works. Vanugo Polan says, as long as you have a room, you have 4 corners and 4 walls, and you have 8 loci inbuilt, I would call them magnetic stations rather than loci. Any place can be a potential memory palace, not just your workplace. So that is correct, Vanugo Polan. It's you don't even need 4 walls, but those rooms are really great to seize upon, and that is a good rule of thumb. So thank you for sharing that. Bruce Wayne, what are you trying to memorize? Let's take a step back and see what's going on there with you. It's really interesting to have particulars rather than generalizations. So if you want to chime in on that, that would be cool. Well, what else do you guys struggle with discipline? Discipline. Interesting. Let's see. Anybody struggling with discipline? Alan says, I find it helpful to consider what gives me pleasure as an aid to help articulate what I value. Absolutely. What are the things that people find pleasurable that give you such an energy boost that you feel rewarded in the doing in and of itself? So we can start there as the highest reward of pleasure. Like when I dive into this book, right? A lot of people, they look at books like this, they're learning Chinese, and it's just like, whoa! And you know, the insular cortex in the brain starts creating pain, which is, you know, something that doesn't have to happen to you, but it does happen to a lot of people. What you can do is link it to pleasure. Think more about the pleasure that comes from this, and be using a learning process that in itself creates pleasure. This little drawing may not be for everyone, but this creates pleasure. It's called a memory palace, and using it to help with Chinese creates pleasure. And so there is no pain. It's just all fun, all pleasure. And then when you show up regularly, you document, and as Drunken Monkey Fist just says, focusing on the task, then it just creates more energy and more pleasure. And then all the other parts of the language learning experience, right? Reading, writing, speaking, listening, and memory serving them, and them serving memory, it all just falls into place. It's all pleasure, it's all fun. And Alan continues, people may say that discipline is not pleasurable, and usually it's not, but it leads to pleasure and value. Yeah, well, that is interesting. I think that it can lead to pleasure. It's just a matter of, it's not that it can lead to pleasure. I think discipline in and of itself can be pleasurable. It's just a question of whether or not one is going to develop it into a pleasure and explore its pleasurable aspects. And usually what you find is that when you become a person of discipline, the actual discipline becomes addictive. And it's a positive addiction. So if I miss the gym, which rarely happens, I crave it. I crave the fitness. And I would have thought that that was absolutely impossible. But it's not. And when I miss days of doing my daily memory routines and my meditation routines, I crave it. I crave it because it's missing. Bad Boss says emptiness. I feel empty most days and it affects my discipline. More personal additional info. Yes, well, please continue. What do you mean? I mean, Emptiness. What's wrong with that? Why would that be a barrier? Emptiness is a powerful thing to feel. I'd like to explore that more. And why I say that emptiness is so powerful is because we're just, we're empty. We are empty, but we fill ourselves with so much chatter, so much talk, so much unhelpful, unuseful, blah, 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 as they say, and it's not useful, it's not helpful. But if you are empty, that's an asset. That's a wonderful thing that you can be using and cultivating to make more silence in your life, to make room for more discipline, for more practice. Emptiness is cool. I'd really seize upon that and explore it more as an asset for yourself, because emptiness is the goal. So many people spend thousands and thousands of hours over lifetimes trying to find emptiness. So please clarify what you mean, because that's something that a lot of people would be really envious of. And I have daily meditation practice to discover and explore emptiness, and to escape the, it's actually something very interesting, because I've recently been starting to have what's called persistent non-symbolic experiences. And what that means is that time passes where I am empty, fully empty, and it was earned by discipline. I didn't think that meditation could get any better, but it's gotten better and better and better as a result of showing up to the discipline of meditating and exploring this emptiness. And this is where you get into all kinds of weird paradoxical puzzles and language games and so forth, but there's so much fullness in that emptiness. So I'm curious how you're using the word emptiness, but it shouldn't get in the way of discipline. You get emptiness through discipline, and it's really, really powerful. So I'm moving inside because it is quite windy out there. And I was seduced into coming into Australia because they said it's going to be warm all the time, but actually it's kind of cold. And I want to bring in my memory journal, because I don't, in case it rains, want it to get wet. But that's another disciplinary thing. Do you have a memory journal? Are you constantly showing up to the practice of cultivating memory palaces, doing memory practice? And it's really, really, really important. And you've just got to be on a cycle of performance, a cycle of showing up. That's how you get the results. That's how you get discipline. You get discipline by doing those things that discipline is. You show up, and then that's how discipline emerges in your life. That's how we start to experience and explore discipline further and further and further. So it's quite a simple thing. Let's see here. Bruce Wayne says, I'm starting to learn body language and NLP. I don't know how I can put that in a memory palace, LOL. Well, everything about body language, including how body language is described in NLP, which for those of you who are on here and don't know what that is, it's neuro-linguistic programming, or sometimes called neuro-linguistic processing. It's very easy. If it can be described in words, you use typical memory techniques to memorize those words, right? And so body language, you're done. Just describe it in words. And if there was ever body language that was described more in words than in NLP, then I don't know what it is. And I actually have plans to write a book about Erickson hypnosis patterns. So that's really, really fascinating to me. But those are also things that can be memorized very, very quickly. And you may have seen some of the playing cards of the Ericksonian hypnosis language patterns on playing cards, and so they're super easy to memorize. Dan B says, I'm trying to learn subnetting IP calculations. I don't know if a memory palace would work or not. I do. It will. Just get in there and start doing it. If you need help, then there's the free course on magneticmemorymethod.com. But understand that all memory techniques will help. It's just a matter of, first of all, knowing memory techniques, having used them and practicing them, and then taking information and using what you've learned to solve it, to figure it out. It's just really a puzzle. There's nothing complex about it except for objections that people bring and a lack of discipline. So again, it's as true for me as it is for all people in the world. This is the Freedom Journal. If you really lack in discipline and showing up, then you can get something like this that will help you break tasks down into 10-day sprints, and then you show up and you document what you're doing, and it's really magical, the things that it has in here to help you along the way to create energy instead of costing it. And it is a powerful, powerful, powerful asset. Really excited to speak with John tomorrow for the Magnetic Memory Method podcast. Bruce Wayne asks, is dividing memory palace efficient? Sorry for asking a lot of questions. I don't know what you mean by dividing your memory palace, and don't be sorry for asking questions, but please do go to magneticmemorymethod.com and take the free course so that you can get going with these techniques. Michael Swain says, at Bruce Wayne, what do you mean by dividing? Yeah, thanks for asking that, Michael. Alan says, do you factor flexibility into discipline? Well, let me know what you mean by flexibility, but here's the thing. You know the 80-20 rule that is so popular? It's like a thought virus. Everybody talks about the 80-20 rule, the 80-20 rule. And basically what it says is that 80% of your results come from 20% of what you do. That's one way of framing it. And so if you're disciplined and you have to incorporate flexibility into your life, then as long as you are 20% or 80%, this is where I don't like the whole 80-20 rule, and I almost regret mentioning it because it doesn't actually make sense. But the point being is that if you are disciplined for a significant amount of time, then you're still going to get lots and lots of results, and things will happen in your life that will change. So take meditation, for example. Now, I meditate almost every single day. I rarely miss it. But because I'm so regular with it, that when I do miss it, the world doesn't fall apart. It doesn't crumble. I practice language learning almost every single day. But when I do miss on language learning, well, because I'm doing it so often, then that little wiggle room, flexibility, missing once in a while, it doesn't harm anything. Same thing with memory. But if you're just once in a while, then you don't have wiggle room because you're not even following a plan. You're not even doing anything regularly enough to feel the benefits of regularity. So you'll automatically always need to be flexible. That's just what life is. Sometimes you'll have a morning appointment. Tomorrow I have a morning appointment to speak with John for the podcast about the Freedom Journal. Not just the Freedom Journal, by the way, but also the Mastery Journal. And it's really important that I get through my daily morning rituals that are so powerful for me. But it's also a little bit early, so maybe I'll just do half of them and pick up the rest the other day, the rest at a different part of the day. But the day may go by too fast and may skip past me. But then there's the next day, then I resume the rituals. Because I do it so often, it happens on autopilot most of the time. But the rare times that I miss these things, the effects are minimal. The effects of missing are minimal because of the consistency. So that's all. Flexibility is a given. The need for flexibility is a given. But you're going to have minor problems with the flexibility that life requires if you are consistent. So it's just a matter of getting started and going long enough so that you actually can feel the effects of consistency. 59 Seconds by Richard Weissman is a really good book for you along those lines with that question. So Rohit says, I like your idea of putting Memory Palace learning on a calendar. I think that's part of the problem I have. I have to schedule Memory Palace on my calendar. Anything you want to get done, you got to make time for it. It's exactly right, Rohit. Anything you want to get done, make time for it. And then if you're not making time for it, if you're not prioritizing, here's a trick that will solve a lot of suffering in the life of anyone. Just take it off your desire list. Get it out of your mind. So many people, they have things that they think that they want. And they don't really want it, but they are haunted by not wanting it. Remember we were talking earlier about conscious desire versus unconscious need. So many of us are filled with conscious desires. But if we really wanted those things, we would find a way to show up. So we have all these ghosts of desires that are making our lives miserable. Or I've managed to limit this to almost nothing. I can't think of any conscious desire that I have now that is having this effect. But I used to in life have all kinds of conscious desires that mucked everything up. So if you really want to do it, yeah, Rohit, schedule it. If you don't want to do it, just remove it from the personal story of your life and find the things that you really do want to do and then focus on doing those things so that you can get them. The Freedom Journal will help you with that. So again, that's magneticmemorymethod.com/TFJ to grab yours. Let's see here. Pretty simple stuff, actually. Life. Bruce Wayne says, I used to divide my old house into sections. For example, the kitchen is my bedroom. Number one, my bedroom is number two, and the kitchen is number one, my bedroom is number two, and so on. Help me to memorize information. Well, keep exploring that. I mean, I wouldn't use the word division for that, but this is how you do it. You partition everything so that you have magnetic stations. Alan says a Freedom Journal could help so you can pick up if you're having too much flexibility. Absolutely. So definitely grab one of these Freedom Journals and just find a way. You know, there's different kinds of journals. You can also just write in something like this. These are at stores all around. You can mind map in journals. A bigger piece of paper, a bigger notebook is useful for that. There's no end to what you can do, but my point would be is that a lot of people are finding that they are just swamped with options, and no doubt, especially in the world of apps and so forth, it's really, really, really simple. It's super, super simple. It's just to externalize from your body and not try to do it all in your mind, except for what you want to remember, which is why a Memory Palace is so useful, because it's like mixing what's in your mind with what's outside of your mind, and really just have a way of tracking what it is that you're doing and show up to it so it's undeniable. This helped me so much with a project that needed to get done that I really didn't want to do, and it's helped me so much with just understanding something new about memory, and we're going to be talking about that very soon on the Magnetic Memory Method podcast. So Bruce Wayne says, can I get a link to that free program you were talking about? Bruce Wayne, please. And I can't wait for Bruce Wayne to come to magneticmemorymethod.com, but just go to magneticmemorymethod.com. You'll see the big invitation where to get that program, and enjoy. So discipline, I think, just riffing, is pretty simple. It's creating a program for yourself, or having one created for you if you must. But maybe the best thing is to have a kind of a fusion if you need it, and that's what this is. It gives you a program, but you fill in the blanks of what that program is. Make sure it's creating energy for you instead of costing energy. And as Michael was so kind to point out, if you have trouble finding magneticmemorymethod.com, then Google Magnetic Memory Method and it will show up. Well, I want to thank everyone again for for being here today. And for those of you who caught the last live on memory loss, I really appreciated your engagement. And I got some nice emails from people about it. Your comments on these videos themselves is really appreciated as well. But someone named Phil emailed and he said, your discussion regarding heavy metals was most informative and I intend to pursue the matter further. And he mentioned some different personal details about that. And yeah, there was a bunch of other emails along those lines. And I appreciate you being in touch with me by email, but I really appreciate the comments here on YouTube when we are doing stuff here on YouTube, because that makes a lot of sense and really helps grow this particular YouTube live stuff. And I appreciate all of you who showed up, engaged in the comments, showed your thumbs up. It's getting to be last chance here for a thumb dance, slow dance. So give me a thumbs up if you were engaged, if you enjoyed, and any last questions before I go and do something with my own discipline? If not, well, then I'm going to wish you all a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day. Had a lot of fun speaking with you now. And, you know, if you want, there's going to be a new episode of the Magnetic Memory Method podcast coming up in just a couple hours. Bad Boss says, thanks. I didn't elaborate on my comments. It's a little personal. No problem. Dan B says, thanks, Anthony. Rohit says, thank you, Anthony. And Michael Swain says, hey, Anthony, one quick question. All right. Okay, we're going to wait here for a minute for one quick question. I'm sort of rushing a little bit because I'm being interviewed today in German. It's the first time I'm being interviewed in German for a long time, so it's going to be interesting, and I'm really excited about it because being interviewed in another language is a lot of fun. And also, I haven't been speaking German well, I have been a little bit, but it's just an amazing thing to speak German. I love German. It's my favorite. So I just saw your question there come in there, Michael. Let's see. Kind of unrelated, but what areas have you been using mind maps of late? Well, lots, but one of the most recent ones here is to help design a new video course that actually just we're shooting on Tuesday night and shooting a little bit more later this evening, and there it is. And so it's a lot for me. It's about creating ideas and content. So a lot of the podcasts are mind mapped. I've done some mind mapping for language learning. Like if push comes to shove and I just think, can't come up with a mnemonic for that, what could these possible mnemonics be, right? There's something about the cochleal structure of mind maps, especially when you do it the Buzan way. And you know, if you want some of that information when you're on Google searching magneticmemorymethod.com, put Buzan, B-U-Z-A-N, and you'll see some of the Memory Palace or mind mapping material that's there. And there's an interview with Phil Chambers on the Magnetic Memory Method podcast where we talk about using memory palaces and mind maps together. Michael says that it's beautiful. Yes, mind maps are very, very beautiful. And it's a great question, something we should pick up on another live. So thank you for raising it. And if you don't currently mind map, definitely get into it and definitely check out Phil Chambers on mind mapping, in addition to, of course, Tony Buzan's material, because Phil has really gone deep into this. Michael says, thanks, I've been doing a lot of mind mapping lately, so just wondering what your recent uses of mind mapping were. Well, again, this is my most recent mind map, and it was just, there's a couple of them here, actually, but I just showed you the top page, but this is another one, and these ones don't use a whole lot of color and so forth, but I'm sure in this other journal here, I think journals are some of the most important things. Mind mapping is just a super powerful way of very rapidly exploring a topic to its most ultimate degree, you know. You can just jam out so much information so fast, and there's a lot of ways to do it, and you'll develop your own style over time. Like here's another one. This is kind of a more linear top-down sort of mind map, but it's still very much thinking in terms of mind map. This is not my normal mind map journal, but you know, you can just cross-purpose so much stuff. But here's another one, and I do sometimes use the colors and follow a lot of the recommendations, but a lot of the times you can have the recommendations just in mind, and I've really gotten a lot more out of mind mapping since meeting Tony Buzan and hanging out with Phil Chambers, talking with Phil Chambers on the podcast. So if you haven't heard that episode, here's one that illustrates more of some of the stuff that I've picked up from Phil Chambers. So you can see this mind map. I spent a little bit more time on it, and there's reasons why that Phil talks about, and Tony Buzan talks about as well, why you want these kinds of little things. And it's just amazing once you get into it. It's so much fun. So thank you, Michael, for raising that. And I'd love to explore the topic further, because mind mapping is super, super interesting. And it's a great asset for using with Memory Palace work and in addition to Memory Palace work, and just stimulating creativity, because you can come up with massive plans that are super detailed very, very quickly. Within minutes or 10 to 15 minutes, this is an entire production that's ongoing now, and this project wouldn't exist in the detail and the depth of thinking and clarity and exploration that it does without this. And this really didn't take that long, and the thought process, that all the little workings and why you do this and you do that on mind maps, they're super interesting to unlock. So if you're interested, check out that interview with Phil Chambers on mind mapping and memory palaces, and then all the Tony Buzan stuff and Think Buzan. And you know, I just tweeted Tony Buzan and Josh Four something really, really cool. So if you're not following me on Twitter, go look me up on Twitter, and you'll see an interesting thing that I just tweeted to Buzan. It's a little bit of a puzzle, a little bit of a mystery, but I see that Tony already retweeted it, and that was cool. Michael says, thanks, Anthony. And CJ Harris, thank you for being here, CJ Harris. Hey, everyone, joined this a bit late. Anthony, do you keep a diary of mind maps of what you do each day? I'm thinking of doing it to help my recall. Do you think it would be helpful? You know, that's a great question, and something that we can pick up again. But just one last time before I go, it's not that I would do mind maps every day, but I do have daily journaling, and it's super powerful. And one of the most powerful periods of daily journaling that I ever did was with the Freedom Journal, and it is a really, really cool tool. So again, I'm speaking with John Lee Dumas, who created this tomorrow. It's called the Freedom Journal. If you want to get one, go to magneticmemorymethod.com/TFJ, and we will talk more about this in the future. It's a great thing, and if you want discipline, discipline is there for you. But my final word on the matter of discipline is that discipline is something that you find by doing the things that are disciplinary and doing them consistently, so that you're able to build the experience that will cause you to create energy from discipline rather than spending energy. If you can unlock that in your life, you're going to have an amazing, amazing time. And I've got a new book coming out, and because I used the tools of discipline, I was able to get it done. This is now the proofread copy, which I've finished the corrections. After I get off this, do a couple of things. I got an interview coming up. I'm going to be sending this off for typesetting, and it's going to help create discipline in your life as well, because it is a very, very special book indeed, and I can't wait to let you know about it. If you want to be notified, then make sure that you're subscribed to this channel, but more importantly, make sure that you're subscribed at magneticmemorymethod.com, because it's going to be a very big announcement when this book is ready and done, and I'm looking forward to it. It's going to help you. And one last time, get yourself a Freedom Journal, because that is going to help you as well. Oh, Nick is here. Nick, we're going to stay around for another couple minutes here to answer this. Nick says, would you recommend mind mapping software to be used, or pen and paper only? Well, first of all, thanks for this question, and thanks for being here. Really appreciate it. Great seeing you yesterday as well. Well, ThinkBuzan has really cool memory or mind map software, and I really tend to try to steer away from using any of that stuff myself. First of all, mind mapping software has a learning curve, and there's just so many choices of mind mapping software that you could go for. I think you should go for the ThinkBuzan software, but I really think that with digital amnesia being the problem that it is, and more people overwhelming themselves with apps inside of app machines, distraction machines, really, we need to, so many people that are not getting results from those things, because there certainly are people who are, let's not deny that people are really into that if they have the discipline in order to get results from digital technology that's embedded inside of other digital technologies, all of which are competing for your attention while you're in the area that you're actually trying to use it, right? If you're able to manage all that and you're getting results, great. But if you're not, then taking it away from that area is a great way of creating time and space away from the machines and the distractions, so that the distraction isn't even possible. And so the immersion that you will get will actually help you create all the ideas that mind maps can help you create. And so my caution is that if you're online using mind mapping software, then and you're doing mind mapping software in a field of competing softwares that take your attention from just completing whatever it is that you're doing while you're doing it, seeing something all the way through, go all the way through. If you ever saw the movie Videodrome, go all the way through. It's just like this really important message in there. And it's sort of repeated and echoed in another movie by the same filmmaker, David Cronenberg, called Existenz. And you pronounce it that way because it's spelled differently. Existenz. Capital Xisten, capital Z, and or capital Z because it's a Canadian movie. But going all the way through is the key principle. So to answer your question in a more direct way, Nick, if you can go all the way through something with a mind map software, do it. But if you can't, isolate yourself, remove yourself from the distractions. There is something in memory actually called the von Restorff effect, or the isolation effect, and it is extraordinary how it plays into all of this. But we'll pick that up on another call on the live channel here. And I really appreciate it. Nick says, thank you. Thank you very much. It's a great question. It's something we could jam on for a long time, but definitely if you want, look up the isolation effect or the von Restorff effect and think about it. And I know you to be a person of discipline with these competing softwares, but I have a bit of a weakness myself in there, and that's why I'm so adamant with myself that if I really want to get things done, I print out this book and go and read it at a cafe without a cell phone on me, and I go and I do my mind mappings places where there's no distractions, no laptop, no computer, because otherwise it just doesn't get done. Oh, gotta have a new thing on Spotify. The album's over. Oh, what's happening on Facebook? Oh, what's happening on email? Ding, dang, 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 dang. Yes, you can buy software that causes your computer to only have certain windows open and so forth. But the problem with that is that there's always a code to stop the software from doing the blocking. And the ultimate blocking is like a cafe and a notebook. It just doesn't get any better than that. And then you're there, immersed with it, and it's so much more likely that the task will be completed. So, homework, go watch Videodrome and Existenz, go all the way through. Freedom Journal, can't wait to speak with John tomorrow to record a new episode of the Magnetic Memory Method podcast. Another new episode of the Magnetic Memory Method podcast coming out soon. Before that, leapfrogging, new and old and recent and current and so forth. Thanks everyone for being here. Thank you as always for your support. Much love from my magnetic heart to yours, and thank you again for this great talk and all the comments. And you know, some of you mentioned that you sort of stopped with your sharing because it got too personal and so forth. Well, use that personal data personally. Write it down. Explore it more. These are memories. There's probably memory palaces that you can pick out of there. There are probably solutions that you can pick out of there, but you got to brain dump it. You've got to get it outside of your mind, and journaling is a great way to do that. So thanks again, everyone, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. And until we have a chance to speak again, come visit me at magneticmemorymethod.com and keep yourself magnetic. Mwah!